Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video I'll be going through my AFLW trade targets for going into round 3. And how it was an alright round for me. I don't remember what I should probably actually start doing that, is writing down my trade targets and seeing how they necessarily go and getting like a top 5 or something like that. I could easily just go with the obvious ones with like Gardner, Bowers, and Robon, and I will say that those are like top tier ones to get in. But I think that would be a little bit disingenuous to say, oh, just get the top players each week and being like, oh, they scored well, because they're the top players. They're the highest price for a reason. They score the best on average. So for them to score the best in a 1 week sample size is a higher probability than some of the lower players. So I won't do that in the sense of just picking the top 5 players on average and saying, here are the top 5 players that you should get in, therefore such and such and such. I do think there is a warrant for some other girls that are a little bit lower down. So we'll try and make it fair and not make myself look really good by just picking the top players. But before we get into the video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload, and let's get into the video. So as you can see here, I have it on this screen. So I'm probably actually talking about doing like a number 1 each other. I might actually do a defender, midfield forwards, and ruckman as a trade target, and then do a utility sort of a 5th player, which will most likely be a midfielder or a rookie or something like that. So I might do top 6, as in the four positions, an extra one, and then also a rookie. I think is the best way to probably play this out. So as you can see here, if we go to defenders, let's do the defender first. The defenders, there's about 3 or 4 that I'm really liking the look of that I don't have on my side, obviously. So Pound, I think, is a really good shout against West Coast. 90 in her first game back. Stannard is playing, I think, a forward role, so I don't necessarily like her too much, but I think she will still put up a score. I think Lambert is a little bit of an outlier. You probably saw that I made a comment to one of you guys saying that I think Lambert is a little bit, I think that performance was a little bit of an outlier. She went 110 followed after a 48. So, and you could see her results last year if you looked them up. Stats wise, she was a little bit 40, 50, 60-ish. She wasn't that 70, 80 that it has here at the moment. And you can see that sort of with the massive increase here. She started at 640, and I think 640 was priced at 47, 48. So obviously there was a if you take that 48 and you expand it with the increase in quarters by, I think 17 on 15, whatever that is, like 1.2, something like that, 1.15. Let me bring up the multiplier that would be in the 1.13, and then you times it by say 48, and she'd be averaging 54. So for her to go up to 79 without an obvious role change, and to see that performance of a 48 followed by a 110, I think it is leaning towards an outlier. Darcy here, Daisy Darcy, is one that I think actually is a hidden gem at the moment. And then you got Bresnahan here. I think she's done alright actually, 74 and 69. But if I was to give you one girl that I think is actually going to do really, really well, that will go under the radar, not necessarily going to be the best pick, I actually think it's going to be Priest. I really like her role at the moment. She's playing Port, so I actually think Priest is going to be one of the best scoring defenders this week. She scored 66 last week, which wasn't the best performance, but had a 77 in round 1, and the underlying numbers say that she should do well. If I bring this up and go to AFLW and go to CBAs and go to, where is it? She plays for St Kilda. And go here, you'll see 86 and 90%. So there is going to be a massive performance around the corner here. She does play Port, and Port are sort of that mid-range, like 8 to 13, 14, I think they'll finish in the end. So it's not the absolute greatest matchup, which would be the West Coast matchup, and that's why some will Some of you will probably say Pound is a really good in, but I want to wait one more week with Pound, just looking at her stats from last year, etc. And so I think Priest would be my best guess for trade targets this week. In the defender, as I said, if you don't have Evans, as I've been saying this whole time, if you don't have Evans, get her in. She'll be all Australian at this point and just a really good fantasy outputter. Coordinate as well is absolutely huge, and then you've got Stannard and Pound, who I think will be top 5 as well, and then you've got pushing on the door. I think Carney could come back with a strong performance, but I think she will be moved on for Priest next week, in my opinion, in my squad. Then you've got in the midfield, there is, you could easily, and I think with the midfield, I'm going to do one top liner and one bottom, and one sort of not as great, not as expensive, sorry. I could obviously, it's going to be one of these four. One of these four is, they're all going to be really good. If I was to pick one girl to go absolutely huge, I do think it is, I do think it is probably between Bowers and Rodenbottom, just because I don't like this Geelong matchup for the North girls. And I think Rowbottom's been on fire with the tackles and getting a load of disposals, whereas Bowers just had a ridiculous tackle game, and we know Bowers' game is surrounded by tackles. So I think Rowbottom is the best suited to go absolutely nuts. She went 1-2-1, whereas Bowers against the Hawks. I think I'm going to go Bowers, because I think she just has the easier matchup, and I think she can easily get more touches against the Hawks rather than Collingwood, who I think it was a little bit tougher for Bowers. And then if you wanted to go with a secondary midfielder, because I will usually do 2 midfielders, because midfield is the highest scoring position, I actually really like the look of Whitford. You've got Hatchard, Conti, Bates, Prespakis. Prespakis is another one that I think could do well as well. I don't really like McDonald too much. Anderson, Shearer, I think, could be one that actually goes berserk against West Coast Eagles, but I think you've got to go really high value, so I don't really think you can be picking anyone that's lower than about Conti range or Bonici range. So I think there's that, and I think the best pick that is sort of if you wanted to go a little bit cheap and be able to make some other moves like me this week, actually, as I try and fix up my ruck department, I think the secondary matchup would be Whitford. I think she'll go big against Collingwood. She's played Carlton and West Coast and gone 104, 125. I think she's a girl that can average a 100 for the rest of the year. And a 100 from her would be absolutely ridiculous, as I think we will see girls start to slow down a little bit. I do think you just need 1 or 2 bad games or something like that just for their average to go down ridiculous. I don't think you'll see a girl average 130. Gardner could average 138, which would be annoying because she'll get out of reach, but I think you will see some of these girls get down to like a 110, 115 average, as they have 1 or 2 bad games. Even you saw Chris Barkis of 147 followed by an 89. Was it 147? Yeah, 147 followed by an 89, and you saw that average 118. So even if she goes like 130 for the rest of the year, she'll still only average like 125 or so. But the secondary midfielder, as I said, was Whitford. I do think Chris Barkis you can wait another week for. I think North, I don't really like that matchup, and I'm willing to bet she has an easier matchup the week after. That would be a nice feature next year, is to get the fixtures, on the for the females up, and then as in their whole fixture list. Then in the ruck department, in my opinion, a lot of people are going to have Schultz, so I won't name her. I'm switching to Moffat, as I think she's really good. And then I think you have Strom as well, and Edwards. So it's basically between these top 4, I think are a runaway top 4 for the ruck department. I could go Schultz against St Kilda, as she's just doing the job there. But I think Moffat here and against Brisbane has had 2 good performances in the first couple of weeks, and I think easily has the ability to go a lot larger. If you look here at it, and trying to figure out what she just had two less kicks and one less handball, as well as one less mark and one less tackle. So she had across the board, what's that, 6, 8, 11, 15 less, and then she had -7 compared to -9, so 14. So what's that? Something like, poor maths is not working for me today. -14 or whatever, or something like that, -13. And then 5 more hitouts gets you to 8. Yeah, so there's the difference there, obviously. But yeah, just across the board, a little bit less against the double of the Cats. But I think she will against Brisbane. I think they run a double ruck. Let me just see clubs. Brisbane, do they run a double ruck? I think they do. If I look at look at here, it'll show. I think they do run a double ruck, which will be a harder performance to go against with Brisbane. Round 2 against Port. We go to hitouts here. And no, they don't really run a double ruck. So I think it could actually be a surprise game for Moffat. And so that's why I'd pick her over as she is a pod at the moment. I do think Edmonds had a bad performance, and I do think Strom will be the best ruckman to grab, as I think Gould and is it Good and who else? They play West Coast. Do we have another West Coast? Good and Moody sort of share the ruck, which sort of kills off any chance of them doing well. So I think Moffat is going to be the ruckman that I would suggest people get in, as I think she is going to be probably underrated, and I think she could easily get to the 1.1 million in the next week or two and almost be really hard to get to. And then in the forward line, I mean, this is going to be, I think, pretty stock standard for in the forward line. You can obviously have Hoare. I didn't like her underlying numbers, to be honest. If we look here and we go to Melbourne, here we go. You'd look at Hoare, and she had where is it? Hoare, she had 33 and 23% CBA. So the CBAs aren't really there. Don't know if she's really running a wing or something like that. Let me just double check that. Melbourne, and we're gonna see here Hoare, and we're gonna see what position was she mostly playing. It says here that she was listed as a midfielder, but she's played majority forward. And you see here with the majority forward, she does actually all right with that 25% CBAs. Just trying to see why she gets good numbers here. Sorry, that's time on ground here. Percentage, a 106 here. What does she do? Well, 5 tackles, 9 marks. So she really is a non-disposal winner that gets that's when she'll get good scores. So I'm just wondering, what is the use of... Is she really going to be able to get those 20 disposals that you need from her, or is she really going to do that? And I don't think she'll kick, obviously, 5 goals to a game. Most likely she'll kick like one goal a game or 2, so that will drop her down to the 120s. Will she have 8 and 6 a game? I don't think so. It is consistent that she does score relatively well non-disposal wise, but I think it's more... I think her goals will dramatically drop that, obviously. And I don't think she'll be able to pick up 23 touches a game, to be honest. She had 13 in the first and 10 across the rest of the 3 quarters. So, I think she's the obvious one to grab in. I think Gardner as well is pretty obvious. Morrison, Toothgood, and I think Malloy is one that's probably going to go under the radar. And I think... Well, she's 31% owned. These girls are so highly owned. But if I was to say one girl that I think could do really well this year, I think has the capability. I just want to see her CBAs, Morrison, because I think she's the one that could probably go under the radar a little bit. I think it was... Sorry, not that. I need to go to CBAs and then Geelong. Let's look at this. Nina Morrison is getting the CBAs there. So I think that is the underrated pick. She's really consistent in her scoring. I don't think she'll go up massively in price, but I think she is one there that will just average 90 and is one that the top players will be able to get Aaron Phillips or their single or that F5, F4 girl up to her as quickly as possible, and then that will help them out dramatically. So that is the forward that I'd say to go get. but I think Hall, Gardner, Morrison, Malloy, and I think Rowe's probably going to be that F5 that I think people end up with in the best lineup. I don't really like Too Good too much. I don't like her role particularly, and she is a high. I mean, she does get the non-disposal points really well, but I don't like that she has no midfield time, especially over the course of the year, to be honest. But I could be proven wrong because she seems to be tracking well at the moment, but I just don't like the underlying numbers. And then we go to Rookie of the Week, and let me just change the metrics. And yes, this will not be like Anthony or someone like that because they are very, very, I guess, highly priced. I'm more looking for those 300k, 400k sort of region. And if we look here and we go to last round, you got Sedunari, who came out really strong. Obviously Smith, but obviously Smith is a really good one. She looks pretty primed to go up. Eddie here, 76. I don't know why she did so well, but I mean, 16 in round 1, so I wouldn't necessarily pick her. Campbell here, what does she do? Grace Campbell, let me see the CBAs for Collingwood. Campbell, where is Campbell? 6 and 14, don't think it's the role's really there for her. Elliott, first game, and she went and scored 63. Let me just see the Hawks CBAs. Really trying to learn this on the run here. Elliott, did we see Elliott? Wales, Stratton, actually, yes. No, that is going to be my pick for, I think, the rookies. Even though she's slightly more priced than everyone, I think Stratton and Goldsworthy here, I think is going to be a combined sort of... Well, Stratton isn't really a rookie, actually, now looking at it. But I think the same sort of mould. Stratton, I think, is the rookie of the week for me. Yes, a little bit biased that I do have her in my side, but I think that role change could be absolutely huge, and if push comes to shove, could be a way for me to get out of... If she does put up another good performance, what's to say if her role holds and she puts up another 80 and Phillips is putting up another 50, what's to say that Stratton isn't the one to go to and chuck Aaron Phillips out of the side to get like a Bowers somewhere in the midfield or something like that through the extra cash generated, etc. As Stratton's going to fly up towards that 800k very, very quickly, and that'll help me to get to, I guess, I know it is a very shortened season, but I can still get to like Hoare and Morrison very, very quickly from her. So that is the video there, pretty much. Another long-ish video, but I think it was a much better structure than what I was doing previously with both the women in round last week with the trade targets as well as the men, and I guess trying to stick to a more structured way to go through and look at the best trade targets. But we'll see how those trade targets do. I'll write down their stats, etc. when they come through, their score, and we'll see how bad or how well I went with those ones. So that is the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.